You were not meant to be a slave to the grind. You were not meant to trade your life force for money. You can escape gravity. You can unlock your life. You got this. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to Unlock Your Life. This is your host, Jennings Smith. Guys, I've got a guest on the show today, Mr. Brent Bowers of the Land Sharks program. He's focusing on tying up raw land and flipping it. So he's essentially a wholesaler of raw land, and he was in the Army for 8 years, and he's figured out a way to make a good living with this. He does some coaching around it and can teach us about it. So I wanted to bring him on the show to diversify a little bit our vision, right? I'm a multifamily guy, done some single family homes, but let's talk about raw land. How does that work? So Brent, welcome to the show, man. Appreciate you being on.
Hey, thanks for having me. What a pleasure, man. I always get nervous talking to you multifamily guys because, the thief of happiness is comparison. So I'm like, I'm just doing regular old boring land deals. And you guys are you're doing all these underwriting and, it just seems complicated in my mind.
Well, hey, simple is good. So how did you fall into this? I know you had a background in the military, so thank you for your service, but how did you fall into this?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I was like a rabid dog listening to podcasts, searching for answers. Like I needed answers quick because I was preparing for combat deployment number 3, just struggling. And I had just moved my family back to Florida. I knew I wasn't going to see them roughly for about a year's time because we had to train up and then deploy. So I was like, there's no way I can keep doing this. I have got to get out of the military. I need to quit my W-2 job. I'd already had a marriage that had failed, several years back because I was always gone, always away. Now there was kids involved with my new beautiful wife, woman of my dreams. And I was just tired of being away, tired of being where someone told me to be, wearing what someone told me to wear. And I was over it. So I was searching for answers. I turned my car into a mobile university and I listened to a podcast every single day to or from work. And I would write one thing down that I got from that podcast and the action step I was going to take to implement. Well, I heard, and I say implement, like I'm going to take massive, imperfect, violent action. I didn't need all the answers. I just needed to take the steps. So I heard a guy talking about vacant raw land. He was flipping this stuff and doubling his money overnight. And I was like, there's no way it's that easy. So I just took action, just completely took action, started mailing tax delinquent landowners.
Okay. So you started just sending them emails or physical mail and how did you find these guys? Just pulling county lists?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And sorry, I wanted to take a break there. I didn't want to get too long-winded there. I could talk too much sometimes. So I went directly to the county treasurer's office. I was in El Paso County, Colorado, stationed at Fort Carson. I called, her name is Cindy. She's still there. I said, hey, can you please send me all the properties that are not paying their back taxes? Preferably I'd like land. I don't know if you can break it up for me. She goes, laughed at me. And she sent me this scanned in version. It looked like it was faxed of all these schedule numbers, basically assessor's parcel numbers or APNs. So right. I had to plug the APN into the county assessor's website. If you Google like your local county assessor or property search, I had to manually do that. And it was terrible. So I put the assessor's website or assessor's parcel number into the assessor's website, and it would tell me if it was vacant land or if it was a mobile home or a single family residence or multifamily. So I started having to go through each one of those individually. I was like, there's no way I have time for this. I'm working like 13-hour days in the military. So I heard Tim Ferriss talking about how to get virtual assistants in his 4-hour work week. Right. He's making US dollars, compensating in rupees and spending pesos. And I was like, that is cool. And so I found a virtual assistant in the Philippines and I was paying her $5 an hour to do what I was just doing with the assessor's website. I did a video with Screencast-O-Matic. It was free, or it used to be free for 15 videos. And then I told her how to do it step by step on Word. And where I screwed up, I let her go for 3 days and didn't check on her. I should have had her get back to me after she did like 10 or 12. So eventually I had this list of 687 records of landowners that were behind on their taxes. And I thought these are just regular old tax delinquent land. No, they gave me the list of taxes that not even tax lien investors would purchase. So this was the county held tax lien list. This was land that was not buildable, land that was not accessible, land that was landlocked, garbage land. But I mailed these people a postcard. The postcard said, "Hey, my name is Brent. I'd like to buy your land at 123 Main Street," if it even had an address. If it didn't, it would just say in El Paso County, Colorado. If you're interested in an all cash, fair priced offer, call me or text me. God bless you. Well, my phone started ringing. It did. And picked up that first land deal. Kind of like you mentioned, the one right before we hit record. I bought that one for $285 and found a realtor that paid me $5,000. So in essence, I wholesaled that land deal and it changed my life. It gave me fire to keep going.
Oh, I bet. I mean, now, how did you, because I assume that when you bought that, you had to pay all the back taxes owed. And how did you know that it was even worth $285, right? How you weren't buying a liability that now you owed, $10,000 in back taxes.
Yeah, man, Jennings, that's a great question because I had no clue. I had no clue that he was a retired CPA. He called and he's like, "Brent, got your letter. I don't want the land anymore. I traded it many years ago for some tax work. I've been paying these taxes all these years. Now I'm a couple years behind. I'm about to lose it. And you can have it. $285. It's yours." I said, "Okay, I think that's a deal. I'm going to go look at this land. And if it's okay, I'll give you a call back on Monday." And this was it was like Wednesday. So I was going to look at it on a Saturday, basically. And me, my wife, my brand newborn baby, and an Army officer friend of mine drove out to Palmer Lake, Colorado, about 45 minutes from Colorado Springs, looked at the land as like, this is magnificent, but why is it not buildable? So we figured it out because there's only one ingress, one egress. The fire department won't allow you to build houses. And then right down the street, there's like $1 million homes. So I'm like, there's got to be something to this, but I don't know what it's worth. So we're leaving and I see there's a real estate office like right at the end of the street. I was like, well, heck, let's call the realtors. And so I call, a realtor answers and I was like, "Listen, ma'am, I'm buying this land. I need to know the 30-day blowout price, the get it done now price. I can't afford, this is embarrassing for me to say, but I couldn't afford to leave $285 into a piece of land. I had a mortgage.
You got to make profits. You got to make profits.
Well, I had diapers and all that stuff. And I was broke back. I had a lot of debt because I was trying to wholesale houses. I was mailing all these homeowners and I was just racking up debt by mailing out these homeowners. So I had already kind of wrecked that business. And I was like, I cannot leave my money into this land. She goes, "I don't know about a blowout price, but I think you can sell it for $10,000 maybe." And I was like, "What?" I was like ecstatic. I think there for a time. I said, "I'll call you when I buy it." And I hung up with her. I'm telling my wife and my buddy Michael, and she calls me right back and says, "Hey, Brent, what if I buy it?" And I said, "Great. What are you offering?" She said, $5,000. She was lowballing me, by the way. And I got so excited. I was like, "Send me the purchase agreement." No negotiation whatsoever. She had me the purchase agreement by the time I made it home. I called the seller and I said, "Hey, I've already got a buyer for this thing. Is it okay if I pay you on Tuesday?" The realtor agreed to buy it for me on Wednesday. So I get the quit claim deed, which I don't recommend that. I didn't do any title search, which I don't recommend that. I got the quit claim deed, paid the guy the $285, drove it to Land Title Insurance Company, and then went back on Wednesday and picked up my $5,000 check. And I just kept doing them and doing them and doing them.
Yeah. So I assume that the phone kind of kept ringing because if you're getting people because what is the ramification if you don't pay for multiple years? They take your property and then do you still owe the money? Does it go against, it doesn't go against your personal credit, or does it?
No, as far as I know, most states know it does not. I know Colorado is 3 years. Once it hits that 3-year mark, it goes up what's called deed eligible. And then the tax lien investor that's paying those back taxes, well, in this case, there wasn't one. There's no tax lien investor because no one paid that back taxes. But after 3 years, if you're paying those back taxes, you can go and foreclose and take that land and you get what's called a treasurer's deed. And then the title is clouded for 9 years. It's like $2,500 to do a quiet title process, which I have personally never bought land via the tax deed sale. I like to buy it from the actual owners before it gets to that point. And now that's not all the land we're doing. That's a small list. You run out pretty quickly.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. And if you're listening, guys, he's talking about if you don't pay your property taxes, the county's going to say, all right, this guy didn't pay the taxes. They're going to auction off your home, right? And they're going to auction basically for the amount of taxes owed. So if you owe $5,000 on your house, some investor is going to put up $5,000, pay the taxes on your house. And then if within a certain period of time, it may be 2 years, 3 years, depending on the state, you can redeem your home. You can pay back the $5,000 plus tons of fees, plus interest, sometimes anywhere from 12 to 20% interest to the investor. And if you don't, then the investor who put up the money for the tax lien gets the house, right? And so this land was so worthless that they couldn't even find people to put up the money backed by the state for 15%. Is that what you're saying, Brent?
You got it, Jennings. You're dead on. I'll tell you, man. And it's like I did so many deals. I'd say at least 8 deals off that first 687 postcard mailer. And it was just that low-hanging fruit, the bottom of the barrel stuff, the things that people thought were not worth anything. Like the second one I bought for $500, and I didn't think it was worth much either. I went and took photos of it. It was landlocked land around a state park. Ended up getting caught by the state game warden or whatever, the park patrol guy. He had the beautiful little hat you see on Yogi Bear. And he's like, look, you can't trespass. And I was like, well, I'm buying the land right over there. He goes, well, you need to rappel via helicopter or something because you can't come through here. But I got my photos, so I didn't need to go back. But I put it on Craigslist and I disclosed.
Well, wait, let me pause you there, because don't they have to allow you to be able to access your land? If somebody has land around yours, don't they have to allow you to access your land?
Yeah, Colorado's a land, like they don't allow you to landlock. They don't allow like people to landlock. So I would have had to have gone and gotten an egress attorney. Basically, you can ask the title company, and they'll direct you in the right direction. But I didn't have money to pay an attorney back then. So I was just like, look, I'm going to find that buyer that wants to deal with this. I just need quick cash. So I put it on Craigslist and I disclosed that it's surrounded by state park. It's 4.9 acres just south of NORAD on Highway 115, right next to Fort Carson, Colorado. I put photos, I put GPS coordinates, and I literally did this on a Saturday. I had a buyer with $500 down on a Sunday and paying me $400 a month, literally the next day. So I was able to basically get all my money back out of that land deal and be profitable $400 a month. I sold that one for $5,000 too, but that's the one that changed my life. That's the one that taught me about true passive income, not like rental properties where we call it passive income and we got to fix things all the time. But that land payment just kept coming in and I just kept doing more and more of those. And before I knew it, I had replaced my expenses that were $4,500 a month. I had that much money coming in each month from land.
On seller finance notes.
You got it.
And so what, if you don't mind, I'm just curious, what was this guy going to do with this 5 acres in the middle of the park?
You know what he wanted it for? He wanted a hunting property because there was like a massive amount of turkeys that would go through there, and he was a turkey hunter. And I don't know if he ever even got the access, but he just wanted roughly 5 acres surrounded by state land. And guess what? It's like I had bought other land that backs up to national forest. Hunters have money. This guy really didn't have much money, but he was like, this is a piece of pure gold. And if he ever gets access to that land, like legal access, oh man, he got it for a song. And so did I.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's pretty cool. And it's true. We have some land and we hunt it, and it's very difficult to find. I only have a place to hunt because my grandfather bought this place 50 something years ago, and it's not easy to find a place to hunt. And hunt clubs are, thousands of dollars a year just to hunt. So yeah, if he can buy some land for $5,000, it makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I wish my great grandpa would have bought a lot of land. But you know what? There's two great times to buy land is, 20 years ago and today. Just like planting an oak tree, best time to plant an oak tree was 20 years ago. The second best is today.
Okay, so Brent, $5,000, that's cool. $400 a month, that's cool. Have you done any larger land deals? Have you done any deals where maybe there's a little bit more risk, but a little bit more reward?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like those were the gateway drugs. We have one piece that we purchased for 1.2 million. It's on a 6-lane highway in Colorado Springs, backs up to a golf course, and we should be able to sell that for a little over 2 million. It's already approved for 34 townhomes. We did another one.
Now, did you actually buy that and close it, or
Yeah,
did you just tie it up?
no, we bought it. There's no debt on it whatsoever. We own it. And we bought another one for 40,000 the other day. Our buyer was waiting because it took us a while to buy that parcel because it had some title issues. We bought it for 40,000, and our buyer gave us $5,000 down, and he purchased it for 90,000. We have a roughly 69 land notes coming in, sitting at about $22,000 a month that comes in if we don't assign any contracts, wholesale any land, or flip any land. So the machine's running, and it's very, like, I got an executive assistant, very small team. So it pretty much runs itself.
Now, how do you generate, like, I get it. It's awesome to get the monthly money, but how do you generate the money for the down payments and the purchases? Is that just something that you built and saved over time, or are you
Yeah.
doing creative financing with the seller initially?
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything, actually. At first, I would assign several contracts. Like when I bought from a bank, I shouldn't even say I bought it. I got it under contract from the bank for 25,000. Like you called me a land wholesaler. This would be land wholesaling. I got it under contract for 25,000. I found a buyer that paid me 38,000. So basically, I just kept the difference of 25 and 38. So you keep doing those. You keep collecting these 13,000. Then I wholesaled very shortly after another lot. It was a multi-family lot. It was approved for several multi-families. We ended up getting a $78,000 assignment fee for that land deal. So before I know it, like we're getting or accumulating all this money. So then we start buying land at 20, 30 cents on the dollar to sell at full retail. And then we're
Because
getting
you
payments on
finance
those.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we self-financed for a while, and then I started doing bigger deals, and then like people started coming out of the woodwork saying, "Hey, I've got 20,000. Hey, I got 30,000. Hey, I got 50,000. I want to buy land too." So we bring them on as lenders. Like I've used my mother-in-law. Like we pay her 9% interest, and then our buyer. So if we get the loan at 9% interest for 30,000, and then our buyer comes in and buys it from us for 100,000, and we give our buyer a loan for 100,000 at 12% interest, and I'm paying my mother-in-law 9% interest on 40 grand. Like it's a positive arbitrage. So my mother-in-law's payment's $800, my buyer's payment's $1,000, and
Yeah.
my mother-in-law's
No.
paid off.
And we teach the same thing with apartments. Second position, private money, you got bank financing, you got seller financing, you got investors, or you can give equity in the deal. Everyone hears these stories and they're like, well, I don't have $1.6 million, so I can't do that. And it's just like totally not true. Yeah, you got to be creative and you have to have relationships and you got to make a pitch to someone that it's going to be a win-win for them. But you can infinitely scale with doing what you're doing. And you're helping other people too to generate some cash flow as well.
Yeah, you're right, Jennings. That's so true because I always try to put myself back in the shoes that I was in 2016. People will say, look, I don't have, again, like you said, $1.2 million to buy that land. I did not start there. I had done over 300 land deals by the time we're buying the 1.2 million, like turns into like a snowball, really. And plus I didn't have the confidence. I would have never, ever bought a piece of land for that expensive. I started with a $285 one that turned into $5,000. And then before I knew it, I was buying $1,500 ones and selling them for $7,500. Like they just kept building up and building up and building up.
Okay, so if I want to let's say I want to dip my toe in the water, I want to test this out.
Mm-hmm.
What's a good way to just start? Like, should I go to my county office and try to pull a list of tax lien people? Or how would you advise someone that's like, I kind of want to see if Brent's telling the truth. And if I get some traction, maybe I'll pursue it further. How would they start?
Yeah, let me tell you the fastest way, because at the end of the day, that was a slow, painful way because I didn't know what I was doing. Now I've had the opportunity to do enough land deals as well as teaching other people. So I really get to see what's working all over the country. The fastest way I recommend is, start in your own backyard if possible. Now, I do have some students that make a fortune doing this virtually, but start in your own backyard. let's just say that your area is Orlando, Florida. I want you to go to redfin.com, put in Orlando, Florida in the search bar, and then go to sold. And then once you see the solds, I want you to select land only, and then scroll down a little bit more and do the last 30 days or 1 month. Then I want you to exit out of Orlando and look at that map and kind of zoom out a little bit. And what we're looking for is clusters of sold land, because that's telling me where the demand's at. Like, I don't want to go and get a smoking hot land deal and no one's buying the land in that area. I would rather go where the demand's at. So when we find that cluster, we're going to click on each one of them. And if it's too overwhelming in the last 30 days, then just go 7 days, 1 week, and find a small cluster and click on each one of those. And what I want to know is 3 things, like, what did the land sell for? How big is it? And then scroll down a little bit when you click on that dot and see who it was listed by and bought by. Those are the land specialist realtors. Eventually, you're going to see, hopefully, you're going to see a pattern, not in all areas, but you'll see a pattern like Bob Brown, that guy's selling all the land. That is your land specialist realtor. So if you have an Excel spreadsheet, you put the price, you put how big it is. Now you're going to start seeing the most in-demand parcel size. So you're going to say, oh man, 6 out of 7 of these were half-acre parcels. Now we know where the demand's at. We know what the demand lot size is, and we know what it's selling on average. So if you look at all 6 of them, like they're all selling for around $50,000, a half acre in that area goes for about $50,000. So then once you figure that out, you want to get a list of landowners in that exact area, because real estate's micro. I'm not like trying to span the whole county. I'm going to go to something called PropStream, and you can go to PropStream, pull a list of vacant landowners in that specific area and start mailing landowners tonight. You can mail them a postcard, you can mail them a land offer letter, but that's how I would start today. And that's exactly what my business does today, because that's a lot easier than going after those tax delinquent properties, because eventually you're going to hit the tax delinquent because you're pulling all the landowners.
Okay, so you're not just going on the guys that are in trouble. You're just mailing every landowner and saying, let me make you an offer.
Exactly. I'm not even saying, let me make you an offer. I'm sending them an offer.
You're sending them out.
They sign that purchase agreement. They send it back. And if it's a deal I want to do, we pursue it. So I'm sending them what's called the land offer letter.
Okay. And so let's go back to the very thing you started with. And this may be what people are thinking, because I'm thinking it. Talk about how much money, time, and effort you wasted mailing and sending all this stuff out. And dude, I know how competitive single family wholesaling is. So what can people really expect? Because it's like what you're saying, that's a lot of work, right? And then we've got to get PropStream, we got to pull the data, we got to pay for that, we got to skip trace it, we got to get these postcards, we got to mail them out, we got to buy your training if we want to do that. So how do I know that I'm actually going to, it all hinges on the deal flow. So how do I know I'm going to get deal flow?
Well, let me tell you, I guess the best way I could say is, like, I don't claim to be the smartest person. The guys that have been in the news since you and I have been in elementary school, like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, like, these guys are buying more land right now than anybody else. Like, why is the smart money buying the land? I think it's because, like, inflation and people are trying to put their money into something tangible. Like, they're freaking out about the stock market and cryptocurrency. Like, you can always build a house on it that provides shelter, grow something on it. And here's the thing, multifamily right now, houses right now, there's so much demand. I mean, you look at HGTV, they have all these flipping channels. There is absolutely so much demand in buying houses, but it's also emotional. When you're talking to a house seller, maybe not multifamily, but house sellers, it's extremely emotional because they raised their family in this house. And what are we told? Our home is our biggest investment. What do investments do? They're supposed to go up. But landowners, most of the time, there's no emotion involved. They inherited the land. My sister-in-law just inherited a piece of land in Florida. And she's like, I'm going to sell this thing so quick because I don't want it. And that's where the sellers are much willing to give us a better price. They don't care as much. And plus, banks aren't lending on land. So that creates even more opportunity for a small guy like me, because these sellers know that not everyone's walking around with $50,000 or $60,000. So they either have to sell it at a discount or do a seller carryback and seller finance me the land. And sometimes they'll do it at 0% interest.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I'll say everybody wants to buy houses. Everybody wants to buy apartments. Everybody wants to buy self-storage. Not everybody wants to buy a little 2-acre landlocked parcel in Florida that's surrounded by swamp, So
So true.
it is and now how do you get creative? Maybe the dispositioning piece is a little harder, right? Because with houses, you get it fixed up, you're going to get it sold. You fix up an apartment, you're going to get it rented. There's tons of demand, and the exit is very easy, right? That's one of the beautiful things about apartments is everybody wants to buy your business. So when you're ready to sell, it's not hard to line up a buyer. Would you say that's the most challenging piece of this? It's not necessarily finding the deal, but is it finding the buyer? What's the hardest part about it?
No, I wouldn't say that's the hardest. I would say that for people getting started, it's like, how do I comp this? Like, how do I know what it's worth? Like, how do I know if there's electric and water and sewer running at the lot line type thing? Because that's one of the reasons why I go where the demand's at. Because if I'm not seeing solds in the area, that tells me a couple things. One, I'm not going to be able to figure out what it's worth. Two, if I do get it under contract at pennies on the dollar, like, who's going to want this land? And let me tell you, there's a buyer for every piece of land. I've sold mud pits to guys that have ATVs, and they just love going out there and just ripping up the land and, mudding. But that's ultimately, I'd say the hardest part is just comping the land, having the confidence to do it. And anytime there's uncertainty and I'm not sure what the land's worth, we just go in for a bigger discount. That's it.
Yeah.
And a longer inspection period. I'm buying a piece of land from these guys. It's 7 acres. It's waterfront, but the land does not touch the water. So you see the water from the land. But these guys are allowing me 180 days to buy this land. They're seller financing it to us. They're selling it for $159. They're seller financing it to us for 10% down. So I got to come up with $15,900. We are putting it on the multiple listing service with our real estate agent because our contract allows us to do that for $250,000. We're asking 30 grand down. Our payment is going to be $2,200 a month. The seller's payment is going to be $1,100 a month. That is what can happen with the creativeness. And the sellers are cool with it.
Yeah. And you can do that during the inspection period before you close.
That's right. We will have the buyer before we even close. And guess where we're going to get the down payment? The buyers.
Right.
And the buyer's
paying
give you
15 grand or 16 grand. You're going to walk with 14. You'll have some closing costs, but yeah, I love it. As long as you can get that seller or buyer, to pick it up. You don't think you'll have a problem with that, huh?
I don't think so. I mean, they're not really making much more waterfront land in Florida. Unless these ice caps melt, then there'll be more waterfront land, I guess. But, I have no doubt that I'll be able to sell it in 180 days. And if I can't, then I'll cancel the contract.
Walk away. Yeah, okay. So the landsharks.com, that is your education company. If you're listening, thelandsharks.com, what does that look like? How does somebody get started with you?
I'll tell you, I love that you asked that question. I really show people the exact systems, the exact steps to take, how to get the small wins. And it's action-based. I made so many mistakes starting out, and it took me way longer than what it should have. And I just help people avoid those and get them results quickly. I mean, we just got a single mother of 4, her 5th land deal. And it's just, I interview my students on the Wholesaling Inc. podcast. I hold their feet to the fire. They get to talk about how they did it. We do multiple support calls a week. It's all the things, like we're going to give you the steps and then be there to answer the questions when you have the obstacles, because they will come. This is hard work.
Yeah, it all works if you work it. And this stuff kind of it speeds it up, streamlines it, makes it safer and easier. So it's an ongoing mentoring. Is there like a course that comes with it?
Yeah. The course that gives you, it's video based. It gives you the action steps. I'm basically saying this. Here's exactly how you pick your market. Here's how you pull the list. Here's exactly what you send the list. Here's what you say. Here's what you do, blah, blah, blah. And then we do the weekly support calls. And then I have my assistant coach and the support channels answering questions all day long. So yeah, you get the course, you get the coaches, you get me, you get the mentorship, and it's forever. We don't give you 6 months to make it happen because we all make things happen in our own time.
And what does it cost to join the Land Sharks?
$5,000.
Okay. And then is it a monthly fee as well, or that's a one-time fee?
One-time fee.
One-time fee, and you're in $5,000, guys. Sounds like, I do these podcasts and then I'm like, oh man, I should do that. I should do this. I get to interview all these interesting people. I can't wait till my boys are a little older. I'm gonna be like, all right, you're starting a business here. You're joining up with Brent and doing the Land Sharks. All right, guys. Well, that's all we got time for today. But Brent, dude, thank you. I love your story. And I really like your approach. It's like you're gritty. You're a bootstrapper. You remind me of how I started with trailers, just jumping in there, didn't know what I'm doing. Bought a $5,000 trailer that was destroyed, and we make things happen. And, you can't really teach that. So I really admire you and what you've done and where you've gone with it. So congrats, dude.
Thanks, Jennings. God bless, man. And yeah, those trailers, we came across one the other day. We bought for $1,000. It's the same thing. We're just seller financing. That's it.
Yep, I hear you. But this seems a little bit more passive than the trailers. But, well, have a great week, and thank you for spending some time with me and Brent. Reach out to us if we can help you, and remember to take some time this week to pursue something that matters, building something long-term so that you can unlock your life. All right, guys, have a great week. Peace.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.